What if I told you the most powerful conqueror in history was not stopped by armies, not stopped by walls, not stopped by weather? He was almost stopped by his grocery list. Genghis Khan built the largest land empire ever seen. He moved armies of 100,000 soldiers across deserts, mountains, and frozen steppes, and he never once ran out of food, arrows, or horses. That is not luck. That is not magic. That is the most brutal, efficient budgeting system the world has ever seen. And it will completely change how you think about your own money. Stay until the end. Because the last lesson is the one mistake that even Genghis Khan's own generals kept making. And most people make it with their salary every single month. Born in 1162 on the cold Mongolian steppe, Temujin had nothing. No kingdom, no wealth, no family support system. He grew up poor. He knew what it meant to go hungry. He knew what it felt like when resources ran out. That early scarcity shaped everything about how he managed resources later. People who grow up with nothing often become the most careful managers of what they eventually earn. By 1206, he had united all Mongol tribes and declared himself the Great Khan. Now he had an empire to feed, arm, and move. The question was not, how do we conquer? The question was, how do we not run out of everything before we get there? Every Mongol soldier traveled with 3 horses. Not 1, 3. 1 to ride, 1 to rest, 1 to carry supplies. That was not luxury. That was calculated redundancy. In budgeting, this is called an emergency fund. You don't wait until your main resource fails. You already have the backup ready before you need it. Each soldier also carried dried meat, dried milk curd, and a small cooking pot. They were self-sufficient for weeks without any external supply chain. Your budget version: always have at least 2 weeks of essential expenses covered, even before the month begins. Mongol armies also moved fast, faster than anyone believed possible, because they carried less. Less weight meant more speed, more flexibility, more survival. Here's the most impressive part. Genghis Khan built something called the Yam system, a network of supply stations spread every 25 to 30 miles across the entire empire. At each station there were fresh horses, food, water, and messengers. A rider could cross the entire empire in days, not months. In budgeting, this is called sinking funds. You put money aside regularly, monthly, weekly. So when a big expense hits, the station is already stocked. You don't panic. You just stop and resupply. Most people have no stations. When a big expense hits, a broken phone, a medical bill, a car repair, they crash. Because they never built the stops along the road. Genghis Khan never crashed. Because he planned for the journey, not just the destination. The Mongols had a strict rule: nothing gets wasted. Every part of a hunted animal was used: meat, hide, bone, organs. Zero waste was not a value. It was a command. In your budget, this means track every rupee, every dollar, not to stress yourself out, but because what you don't track, you will waste. Research shows the average person loses 20% of their income to untracked, unnoticed small purchases. The daily coffee, the random online cart, the subscription forgotten 3 years ago. The Mongols would have found this absurd. Losing resources without knowing where they went? Unacceptable. Fix your leaks before you try to grow your wealth. A bigger income into a leaking bucket still ends up empty. Genghis Khan never fought the same battle twice. His strategy changed depending on the terrain, the enemy, the season. But his supply principles never changed. In budgeting, your tactics change. Income changes, expenses change, life changes. But your core principles stay fixed. Spend less than you earn, always have a buffer, never waste. Flexibility without foundation is chaos. The Mongols were flexible because their foundation was unbreakable. Your budget works the same way. Every general in Genghis Khan's army knew the supply rules by heart. They didn't need to be reminded before every battle. The habit was built in. When budgeting becomes a habit, not a punishment, it runs on autopilot. just like a well-trained army. Here is the warning. Even Genghis Khan's empire eventually fell, not because his enemies got stronger, but because the empire grew faster than the supply lines could follow. His successors kept conquering. Bigger armies, bigger territories, bigger ambitions. But the logistics never scaled with the ambition. In personal finance, this is called lifestyle inflation. Your income goes up. Instead of strengthening your foundation, you immediately upgrade your lifestyle. Bigger house, newer car, fancier holidays. Your supply lines, your savings, your emergency fund, your investments never grew with your spending. And when a crisis hits, the empire crumbles. Every time your income grows, grow your supply lines first. Strengthen the logistics before you expand the territory. There was one mistake even Genghis Khan's most loyal generals kept making. After a great victory, they would celebrate. They would relax. They would eat through their reserves. They called it feasting on victory. But Genghis Khan called it weakness, because the next campaign always came sooner than expected. In real life, you get a bonus, a tax refund, a salary raise, and instead of resupplying your financial base, you spend it. The party feels good. The next month hurts. Every windfall, bonus, gift, tax refund, lucky break is a supply drop. Use it to restock your stations, not to throw a party. The generals who remembered this rule outlasted every enemy. The ones who forgot it, no matter how great their victories, eventually collapsed from within. Always ride 3 horses. Keep a main income, a side income or skill, and an emergency fund. Never depend on one source. Build your YAM stations. Set up sinking funds for every big expense you know is coming. Car, health, rent, travel. Stock the station before you need it. Plug the leaks. Find every forgotten subscription, every impulse habit, every untracked expense. Cut what gives you no value. Be Mongol about it. Never overextend. When income grows, grow your foundation first. Savings before lifestyle. Supply lines before new territory. Treat every windfall as a supply drop, not a party fund. Restock. Reinforce. Then, and only then, celebrate what is left. Genghis Khan did not conquer the world because he was the strongest. He conquered it because he was the most prepared. And in the battle for financial freedom, preparation beats income every single time. Your salary is your army. Your budget is your supply line. Without the supply line, even the biggest army loses. Start building yours today.